My expectations from this symposium is that I get to update myself with the knowledge, with the evidence, latest research findings, evidence-based practices, and also the global framework and the programs related to the midwives.
For me, obviously taking the information home is important, and I want to improve outcomes for Aboriginal women and their families. For Aboriginal people, I want the birth outcomes to be on par with non-Indigenous people in Australia. We've got a long way to go yet, but I would really like to see that happen probably in the next generation.
And the next generation of midwives are here with us today. And after this symposium, I'm sure they graduate as the young midwife leaders that will go back home and will, work with much more energy in networks with one each other, having learned from one each other, and also ready to create and continue to expand this midwifery movement and being the goodwill ambassadors of midwives in their own countries.
I can get some skills and tools to work in my country, to make networks also with all the girls of other countries, and I hope I will lead some changes in Argentina.
It's a wonderful pleasure to be able to welcome you on behalf of the International Confederation of Midwives. My job this morning is simply to say what the objectives of this symposium is. And first of all, it's to enhance the ability of the young midwives with leadership potential, because we envisage that they will become a powerful strategic leadership force and advocates. The second objective is to highlight the role that midwives can play in achieving the new Sustainable Development Goals and create a global network of young midwife leaders, and here are the pioneers, to serve as a forum for exchanging good practices and innovations for scaling up midwifery and improving quality midwifery care in order to enable young midwives have a greater impact. And the final objective is to showcase how investments in young midwife leaders from both the South and the North can help to improve the quality of care within midwifery practice, highlighting the importance of investment in research, advocacy, mentorship, and leadership skills of young midwife leaders.
We need to empower women to have a voice and lobby for their care. We need women to say that they want midwives to look after them, that this is what they want for themselves. The last delivery that I had of a baby was a bit special because I had also delivered that woman's first baby and her second baby, and that continuity of care is something that women deserve. She had a pretty tough background. The social disadvantage in Australia for Indigenous people continues, and so to have one person look after her for her first baby and deliver, and then also her second baby, I think is pretty special.
We need midwife to midwife mentorship. Many times we've been mentored by other people, but this time if we make expert midwives mentor other midwives who are not doing well, then we shall scale up and give respective full care to our mothers.
In 2015, I was working in one of the peripheral, in a very remote community hospital where we have only like 5 midwives serving for like over 10,000 population. So we don't have a gynecologist, we're just the midwives there, and it was like at night, and women came to deliver, and everything went well, and just right after the birth she had like excessive bleeding, so she was having this postpartum hemorrhage, and then I was trying to look for the causes and it was very difficult for me, and suddenly the light went off and we do not even have a generator, so basically I was using a torchlight to actually look for the bleeding, and when I tried to consult my gynecologist over the phone, she gave me a lot of instruction, which is like very difficult to follow at that short period of time, and so, but I managed. I just used the torchlight, and with my another colleague, so we were able to spot the bleeding and we repaired it, and then actually we saved her life, which I'm very proud of it.
Let women advocate for us, because when we advocate for ourselves, no one will listen to us. But if women come out and say that these are midwives, they are doing good, they are doing this, so they will see us there.
We had a young mom. She was 11 years old. She got pregnant because she has been abused. She didn't want to have the baby. She came to the hospital because we don't have the legal abortion. We went to her home. She didn't want to make the prenatal visits. She didn't want to see us. She didn't want to hear her baby. And finally, we could try to access to her, to have a good relation. And well, she finally delivered her baby, and they both are all right. But it was a great work, not only with the midwives, but only a great work of all the community.
We have not to afraid, don't afraid, just speak again and again. Raise your voice to have power, and be a troublemaker, support each other, and then you can make change, especially in midwifery.
This was not someone young. This was a para 7, gravida 8 woman. She was having an 8th child, and she was bleeding profusely post-delivery. I remember we always have got a problem with blood supplies in our hospital, and that on that particular day, they had said in the laboratory blood was available, but when we called for blood, when this woman was bleeding, we were told that the lab technician was not available. I remember running to the lab on my own as a midwife. I was the senior midwife in labor ward, and really going there to cause havoc for us to get the blood to save that woman. I remember how thankful she was post-delivery, because when I came back from the laboratory with the blood, the woman was already unconscious. And that is one story I remember very well, that I saved that woman. If I hadn't stood up and stand my ground as a midwife, that blood was not going to be available, and that woman was going to die.
There's one major part which I think I want to underscore, I think has been said. That is your role as mobilizers of communities. You see, when you talk about indigenous people, you talk about, parts of society that have been left behind because of ethnicity, because of color, because of race, because of religion, they've come to distrust the system. They've come to distrust government, they've come to distrust anybody that represents the system. So your ability to work with communities, to build confidence in them, for them to accept you as that advocate, as the person who is bringing, to them something they need and how you can help them to do what they need to do, is a very powerful tool. So because you work there, because they know you, because they trust you, they're likely to begin to respond to you better than somebody who just comes once in a while and works with them.
So don't be shy. Help make those problems visible so that the policymaker can give a response and a reaction. And in that, I think the solidarity with the midwifery professions and the other profession in health systems is crucial. And so if you find that solidarity and you find that voice to advocate for the ones that are the last in society, that are not exercising those rights, that is very, very powerful. And I can really count on you as a young leader to have that passion and that voice and that leadership going forward.
As a young midwife leader, I want to go back to my country, and first of all, I want to start a midwife association, because if we want to have that unified voice and collective action, it's very important that first of all we have a midwife association. And then I noticed that most of the delegates, they have an association, and I don't want my country to be left behind, so I would really like to first work on this.